Welcome to another episode of In the Shop with Fitz Auto. Today, more work on Roshi as it has been for the past however many episodes. Going to be a little bit different. Instead of focusing on one specific project this time, we're going to do a few small things. Going to get the intake and like the TVIS plate or whatever it's called cleaned up and mounted. Going to get the Coil-on-Plug plate made and mounted. And then there was one other thing that I was going to do, but I don't remember what it was. You'll see that too, maybe. I don't know. We'll at least focus on those two. We'll see if I throw that third one in. But for now, gonna get back there to my boy. Get everything ready. I got the intake sitting in the driveway to my right there. Gonna clean that up, and we'll get going from there. Alright, so here's the plate that you just saw me cleaning in the sink. We test fit it. This is how it goes, but since I'm running the GZE water pump, or water pipe actually, it competes with this for space, and since we deleted the butterflies, there's no need for the actuator anymore. So we're going to cut through this bracket. I couldn't get the screws out. Old Japanese car problems there. But we're gonna cut this out, hopefully get a little bit more room for the water pipe, as it'll mount to this bolt here. So we need to make sure we get, enough space for that. If not, I'm going to see if I can get a hold of the rear-wheel drive water pipe or figure out how to make my own or something. But we're going to try this real quick. So, gonna cut back once I've got that cut off. On things I learned about the Ae86 that I didn't know. So as you can see, I actually got the shafts for the plate out, so it's nice, just big holes. Turns out that piece it's made in two pieces on purpose. The hell. So anyways, got this little locating pin here. Goes in the little locating pin hole right cha. So that actually is freaking rad. But yeah, so now get this on the car, see if that water pipe will give us some clearance now. So as you've seen on the GoPro, I've been working on a coil plate for the boosty engine back there. So it's just a piece of 2-inch wide aluminum from Lowe's. Bunch of random hardware and crap. This process is actually going to be the same as you would use on pretty much any engine, but basically it's figure out where you're going to mount this. In my case, it's to the valve cover. And I had to get these little spacers. I accidentally broke one, so it's just on there now instead of being screwed into the valve cover. Does the same job. But basically spacers to get this to the right height, and then drill holes for your mounts. And then the next step is going to be figuring out where in here and here the coils are going to go, and then we're going to drill the mounting holes, and we're going to go ahead and tap those bad boys and get it looking a little better, trim it up around the edges and paint it, and we'll go from there. You're going to see me now. I'm going to be getting that spare cylinder head, figuring out the mounting points on these, and then I'll probably show it once I bring out this guy and have the holes drilled, and I'll show you what that looks like. As you can see, we have one hole down. This is the frontmost hole. Just test fitted over there in Roshi, and it looks perfect. So I actually got a bit that is slightly bigger than the holes on that. Then the holes need to be for the coils. This kind of lets me have a little bit of wiggle room, so the hole doesn't have to be exact. And I didn't want to have to shave down the outside edge of the coils in case they didn't quite fit. So this works really well. It's a 29mm hole saw. The coils are 25mm across, so I got 2mm on either side. But we're gonna go ahead and pop the other holes through. And then I'm gonna bolt the plate down, figure out where all the coils need to sit so I can drill the mounting holes somewhere around here. Drill those in, tap them, and then test fit it. And clean up the corners, make this look a little bit less handmade. Alrighty, as you can see, they're not mounted yet, they're loose, but we got the plate test fit in here. Everything lined up nice and good. So now just gotta, for my aesthetic purposes, gotta figure out what angle I want them at. I'm going to use the punch, which I don't have with me right now, but just gonna punch. Drill a hole, tap it, and then yeah, we're almost there. This is one of those things where could have bought one, but it's kind of fun to make my own. You know, it doesn't fit up against the valve covers all the way or anything like that, but you know, I saved some money and I built it, not bought it. drilled and tapped the mounting holes. So now we're going to clean it up, and in case you can't tell by the piece of cardboard it's on, I'm going to paint it. I tried to clean up the edges a little bit. They're not perfect, but I think it'll look fine once it's painted. So going to wipe it off with some brake clean, hit it with some just flat black paint, and then we'll cut to it, mount it in the car with the coils so y'all can see the final product. Oh, there you have it. All installed. Painted the bracket flat black, went with black hardware so it's nice and stealthy, so your eye is still drawn to the gold and the turbo. Didn't really want the ignition system to be the focal point. So there you go. That is the conclusion of this part of the episode. As we finish it up, you'll see the intake get mounted. Had to get bolts and stuff for that, but you'll see that get mounted, and then we will be rebuilding am painting the rear brake calipers for the 8.8. So we'll wrap the episode up after those, but there's that part. Alright, so when you last saw this, I was explaining how we got the butterflies out, and it's 2 pieces, but we needed to plug this hole. We don't really need to plug the other ones, as you can see, there isn't one to the outside, and they're just between cylinders. Don't think that'll affect anything, but we'll find out. So, what I did, rather than JB welding a bolt in here like I was thinking, got a drill bit and a tap. There's some bolts in this bag. And we're going to drill and tap this. There's a little rubber ring there. You can see the lip that it sat on. Pulled that out. Gonna drill it and tap it. My GoPro's still dead, so I mean, you guys know how to drill and tap, so just I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. Alright, so here is one done. There's still a little bit poking out. I could try to shave it up, but I mean, it's barely any. It's a lot better than the whole bar running through here. So basically we drilled, tapped, and then the bolt was this long, 20 millimeter. I probably cut off about half of it. That was the smallest one they had at Lowe's. But I put it in there, used my sexy Tang Tools ratchet, put that bad boy in. So that's one done. Looks a lot better than just JB welding some crap in there. Should be pretty sexy once it's on the car. Now just got to do this one. Same thing, drill, tap, put it in, figure out where I need to cut it, and then we're good to go. And there you have it. Both are drilled and tapped. The second one actually came out much better. But, well, I wouldn't say much better. Just a little bit better length. But there we go. That's that. I'm going to go slap this on the car with the intake that goes, or the gasket that goes behind it. Yeah. And we will go from there. I need to figure out what I'm going to do for this. I may just pinch this closed, since it runs in from here. May just use these bad boys, pinch it closed. I'll tell you what I decide once it's on the car over there. And then we will be putting the intake on. And I'm going to go check the GoPro and see if it's got battery for that. Alright, so I said I would show what I did to do this. Basically, I accidentally broke off part of it after I pinched it shut. We're not going to talk about that though. So I found my vacuum caps from back when I was running the supercharger to block off a bunch of shit on the intake. And so I just cut this one down, you can see, and shoved it on there. I'm hoping, since it's on the cold side of the engine, and it's right up next to where the fuel is going in, that it shouldn't get too hot, but I guess if I start experiencing leaks, we know where it's going to come from. So I'm going to go slap this on there with the first gasket, grab lunch, and then I'll come out and finish bolting on the intake. So it turns out I was wrong. That did have the bolts, so that's cool. You just saw me on the GoPro put them in and tighten them. There's all 4, looking nice and pretty. This is gonna get deleted, and I've got a GE fuel pressure regulator instead of a GZE. It's set up for a little bit higher pressure, which will help with that boy. So now the next thing, I'm gonna get the other gasket and the full intake on, so we can see what it'll look like, and I can start, figuring out the intake piping. Let's go over here to the other part of the garage. Ignore that. There's the intake we're going to be putting on right there. Already kind of cleaned it up. So I made a stop to Lowe's Racing Department. And get those out here. So grabbed us some bolts, tell you what size they are here in a second, and some lock washers. So what we did is we took the GZ intake bolt, and I slapped it through the TVIS plate, figured out how thick the plate was, how thick the flange on that is, and then how much of this thread went into the head. Got pretty close, went with 50mm bolts, and these are to take up some of the extra space plus hold it in place. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that ready to go, get the gasket in there, and then take a look at it, and it'll look more like a motor now. As you just saw from the GoPro footage, getting this on is a freaking nightmare when you only have yourself, because the freaking two-piece setup is a pain. That weighs way more than it should, but hey, it's in there. Fuel rail with the new injectors, coil-on-plug crap looking nice. Only downside, I goofed up and used steel fasteners on aluminum, and it looks like they've started to rust. That may also be because there's a leak somewhere up there. I don't know. So it ain't pretty. A little rusty, a little janky. But hey, I may pull it off, repaint it, switch fasteners. I don't know. It looks like it was a leak because it's just right there. But nothing too terrible. So next step, take the throttle cable and run it to where it's supposed to, so that we can sit in the car and go vroom vroom, vroom vroom. But yeah, there you go. You can see crushed the lock washer. I wasn't sure what the torque would be, since I'm obviously using different bolts than what this thing came with, so I just kind of went tight but not too tight, because obviously, you know, steel bolts into aluminum, don't want to deal with pulling the threads out of the head and then having to frickin' sit there and tap all that crap. But I mean, it's solid. The gasket looks nice and good. I don't see the gasket poking out. Can't feel it poking out. I don't see any like horrendous gaps or anything. Just looking over it, it looks all tight and good. So yeah, let's get that throttle cable, and then that'll be it. We're gonna put the brakes in a different episode, since this one's running a little long with all the crap going on in here. Have it for this episode. We got the coil-on-plug plate made and mounted. We have the new injectors. We have the TVIS deleted and the intake mounted up. Got the throttle cable on there, and we're looking good. So, as always, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch up next time. Ciao.